Hi everyone, welcome to the Brigade.
Hi.
Today we're covering Broadchurch Series 3, Episode 7.
Second to last episode ever. Penultimate.
Yeah, the second to last episode of Broadchurch ever, yeah. So I thought we'd start quickly with a little email from Dolola.
Yay!
And we'll bookend this episode with some Episode 6 and Episode 7 feedback, which I think is interesting because you can see like thoughts before and after the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So Dolola writes, a correction to the email from the other day. The song played over Mark's suicide at the end was a combination of Beth's theme and another piece called Danny. I believe they've been combined and reworked into a new piece, one of them from the soundtrack called Not Alone. So that might be like an amalgamation. I think we'll wait for Series 3 soundtrack to come out. Danny is played by the same actor, Oscar McNamara.
Mm-hmm. Probably McNamara.
McNamara?
McNamara.
But apparently his Twitter account seems pretty fun. Okay, all right. He refers to himself as Dead Danny, and he has some pretty good reaction tweets.
Oh, that's cool.
The Broadchurch team also brought back the same boy who was baby Fred Miller.
Really? That's commitment.
To play him at age 5. I might murder this kid's name, but I'm gonna take a shot here. Benji Yap. In the credits, Ellie's dad is named David Barrett, so he's Granddad Barrett. But it wouldn't be the same if Hardy was bellowing out Barrett, so Ellie's still just Miller. And two more things here. I hope you were only kidding about what Liverpool is. Of course, it was the birthplace of the Beatles. Also, it was one of England's bigger port cities. Apparently, many people from Liverpool were live tweeting during the episode, saying that they were upset Joe was in their midst. And let's see. I'll do two more here. I don't know whether Mark jumped or whether he was really in the boat. Mark's fate got spoiled for the British papers last August. The strange thing was the Broadchurch production team asked all photographers to stay away from a certain lake one night. So, of course, a lot of fans showed up and took pictures from a distance. For a production that prides itself on being so secretive, it's really weird that they pretty much signposted they were going to film a big scene. It was just such a huge invitation to show up, which makes me wonder if there will be a twist to all this before the series ends. Good job, Jalola.
Yes. Well, actually, if you remember last week, because now we can revise a little bit what we said last week about how, because I remember, we talked about how it's silly how shows and movies will just do, the floating out to sea and then drowning thing, because that's not how it happens. And we're right. It's not how it happens, because it didn't happen.
Right. Well, I maybe initially had some conflicting feelings upon the reveal that Mark was not dead. Certainly the way that Sheen was shot was ambiguous. Right. So it almost earns okay, yeah, you ended with him floating in a lake or in the ocean, and his intent is clear, but there's no real easy way to show him drowning to death, because the way he's trying to drown himself to death would take, so he'd have to get hypothermia, pass out, then drown.
True. Although, maybe Chris Chibnall was just taking a page out of the Game of Thrones book, where they're not dead unless you see them actually, the life leave their eyes. And then even then, maybe not.
Right. Right. So, let's get into episode 7, right?
Yeah.
So, Beth is awoken by a phone call, and we don't know what it is. We know it's about Mark, but at this point, So she tells Chloe to get Lizzie dressed, and I guess maybe your only hint that she hasn't found out that Mark is dead is that she's not just breaking down.
Yeah, true.
So, I hadn't figured it out at that point, but in hindsight, it's she's pretty well put together.
True.
And she's telling Chloe, get dressed, not, hey, Chloe, your dad's dead. So,
yeah.
That same morning, Ellie is visiting the Alucardi Sea Hut.
This is Sea Hut V2.
Yeah, this is C house.
The sea house.
C mansion.
He's upgraded to the sea house.
So they only have Ed in custody for 6 hours. So it's like time to get your shit together. But at the same time, she sees Daisy's bag is packed.
Which is an awesome suitcase, by the way. It's just covered in adorable owls.
Yeah. And she encourages Alec to tear up her train ticket. Though Alec's style of parenting is more like let your kids make these decisions themselves. And so we leave this scene, we go to the police station, and Alec is fixated on nailing Ed, but Ellie is muddying the waters by adding this information that Beth's given her from Nira, which is that she was raped after calling a breakdown service.
Mm-hmm.
But she says never showed up. So she starts to put together that Jim could be the missing link between these women. And then this is where Ellie swipes a piece of toast from Alec, I believe, right?
It is great.
Yeah. That scene's great, and I also like how, Alec is upset that Ellie is muddying the waters, but not because, she's wrong, but because, she's making good points.
Right.
Which is something. Their dynamic will be missed.
Yeah, they were really... I think I said there were some all-time great Hardy moments in this episode, and Ellie too, and we're gonna miss them.
Mm-hmm. At the hospital, Mark is still alive, all caps. So he was found unconscious with hypothermia, and figures if anyone in this series can fail at suicide, it's Mark.
It's Mark. So, although Ian, the human Magikarp, probably would too.
Yeah. I think Ian upgrades a little bit this week. So yeah, I mean, in this scene, I guess what you feel the most for is Chloe.
Yeah.
And Beth to a degree, but Mark's like, oh, there's nothing now, and Chloe's just like, hey, Dad.
Yeah, hello.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I really feel for Chloe, poor thing, because on one hand, I'm really glad that Mark is alive for her, because now she doesn't have to live with the guilt of Mark being her getting the last phone call from Mark and that kind of thing. But on the other hand, it's just she can't win if he's alive and she can't win if he's dead. So this poor girl is just, she's so well adjusted for somebody who's gone through so much shit.
But yeah, so Alec and Ellie have split up. Alec to interview Ed and Ellie to investigate more about Jim. And at the garage, we basically find out that all breakdown calls do not get recorded, but all breakdown rides would be, in the invoice stash. Mm-hmm. Another note that I thought might be important was that breakdown calls come to the garage or get diverted to his mobile. So if there's someone at the garage, they can perhaps stop a breakdown call from getting to his mobile. Or if Jim's out having an affair, he might not answer his mobile, right? So that could be a reason. That could be a reason why Nira wasn't getting her ride or something like that.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. At Ed's interview with Alec, he's kind of putting the pressure on, hey, why was there mud on your suit? And it's this answer. It's well, I left the party, right? So I was walking through the woods and slipped down the bank.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that old thing. Yeah.
Why does everyone in this town insist on walking through a field or woods?
Seriously.
There's a road from Axhampton. We've covered this.
We've gone over it multiple times. Although this season definitely has less of David Tennant strolling purposely across a wide open area than in the previous seasons.
Well, last season gave us so much reason to, but
True.
Yeah, so that's his answer for that question. And then Alec's like, okay, why did Ian have to talk to you about sexual harassment? And Ed just gives the most clueless answer, maybe I was dancing too close to her at some work event. But if she was bothered, why would she keep working for me? It's for a guy who's I can't answer this question about whether or not you're fuckable, Kath, because of sexual harassment laws. He certainly doesn't get why someone might be economically pressured to work for an abuser. But Yeah, I mean, so basically that goes nowhere, but Alex still thinks he's really close to nailing Ed. But he fails to convince Ellie and the Chief Super that he has enough evidence to keep Ed there. And at the same time that Ellie and the Chief Super are kind of shutting down Alec, Daisy calls to make things worse and tell him that she's made her decision and that she's leaving Broadchurch. And then, Dad, can you please drive me home or drive me to the train station in like 30 minutes? And I don't know, that's maybe one of the saddest things I've ever felt for Alec. In the whole series, because like after the whole speech last episode, I'm like, no, it didn't work. how did it not work? That was one of my favorite moments from the last. But like, on another note, we might have loved that speech as the viewer, but we have no reason to think that Daisy really cares, right? So
true, yeah.
So they're forced to release Ed on bail, but Alec does place some restrictions, like he can't contact the Winterman family or go to her house. Basically, no more stalking.
Yeah, and Ed just looks like kind of disappointed, and the lawyer's just kind of like nodding, like, yes, we're accepting this, Ed.
The lawyer is like, are you fucking kidding me? Take this fucking bail, dude. Right. I love the lawyers. The lawyers never speak up, but they're always present, which is a nice touch. But like, I'd almost like one of those lines to get spoken out loud. Like, seriously, dude, sit down.
Big fans of the silent lawyers.
Yeah. So in the Maggie plot,
heavy sigh.
Yeah. She's upset at Caroline for accepting ad dollars and sponsored stories about, I don't know, the top hottest women, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, our reporting on a sexual predator is subsidized by soft porn.
Yeah, which is girls in bikinis, apparently.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, how can you call yourself a feminist? And Caroline's like, I don't. End of story.
Yeah.
I might say the less said about this whole plot, the better. But something I was thinking while writing this is that Maggie's whole story might be the worst thing in Series 3.
Yeah.
Period, but it has tough competition with the porn stuff.
Yeah, but I think that, like, with this current scene, it kind of, like, becomes a lot like the porn plot and what we have problems with, namely that she's kind of making these big deals out of, like, oh my gosh, you can't be a feminist and want to put women in bikinis on your newspaper. And it's like, maybe you can, but it's also like she doesn't,
Right.
I don't know. It's very,
It's very, the whole porn thing is very preachy. There's not a debate going on here. There's just constantly characters with the moral high ground being like aghast at porn.
Right, yeah.
There's no shades of gray here. This feels like the entire season has been like scene after scene of like the good guy character being like, I can't believe this porn.
Right. But you see that later on in the episode too, even when like Jim Atwood's apparently got like porn magazines in his house, which like who does that? Mm-hmm. But and also, I mean, Leo too, like the porn in the computer. And it's
Aaron and Leo both have soft porn bikini photos taped up to a wall.
Yeah.
Too. Like maybe the show is running into some like cable restrictions. Like if this were the season of Broadchurch that was on HBO, we could really get into some shit. But
yeah, it seems like we haven't really had a lot of like sex positive messages so much.
And this maybe isn't the season to have that, but on the other hand, this could be the season you don't make porn such a weird highlight of life.
Right.
In Broadchurch. Like, don't examine porn through this lens in your like rape season and have it's just really falling flat.
Yeah.
And like this would, I mean, it's the type of thing that, like, if you recommended the show to someone who was, like, less passionate about it than us, they would watch season 1. They would watch season 2 and maybe be disappointed by it. But if you reassured them, like, oh, season 3 kind of returns to glory, these are the scenes that would take them out of it.
Yeah.
And make them, like, roll their eyes, which isn't what you want.
Yeah, well, that's, like, even, too, because, my dad and I watched season 1 together. We absolutely loved it. He loved it, whenever. I don't think he's watched season 2, because I kind of said to him, like, you can do better. And then season 3, like, I really want to wholeheartedly recommend it, but then I'm like, oh, yeah, and this is, like, really weird, like, porn plot. And I try to imagine, like, my mom and my dad sitting down to watch Broadchurch season 3 with, like, this weird porn plot. It's just, like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they were parents in the 21st century. They might roll their eyes at that shit. But.
Right. It's just like it's getting kind of weird and kind of old. That's, like, I think we would say our one gripe so far about it is, and it hasn't tied together yet in anything particularly compelling. And I don't know. Mm-hmm. I can't say I can't imagine that it's not going to. I can't imagine it's going to, but I don't know. And we haven't even seen Tom that much. Literally all Tom does is just watch porn in this season. Like, that's it. That's all this boy is doing. He doesn't have any friends other than his porn friends. Like, this boy's doing nothing.
Yeah. Hey, we just finished those chores in the graveyard. Check my phone out.
Got it back. Gonna put the porn back on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, dude. Anyway. Yeah, so we're tired of Maggie and we're tired of porn.
Yeah. Full stop.
Yeah.
Like,
pause, regroup.
Pause, regroup. Because the next scene is what we're here about. Because while driving to the train station, Alex spots Michael Lewis and the boys and gives them a royal smackdown. And
yes.
I can't really... it's not the type of scene where I'm going to, like, repeat things word for word, but I do like some of these interactions where the boys are like, are you threatening us? It's like, no, I'm instructing you. There are, like, the less vulgar parts are some of my most favorites. And I feel like all of Alex's season kind of boils down to this point. Like, all his disgust at the men he's run into, all his guilt about the women he sees pained. He's like, nah, I'm not just gonna drive by and let my daughter feel shamed by these boys. I'm gonna, like, do whatever is necessary to protect my daughter. So
yeah, Alec goes full dad mode here, and it's glorious.
Yeah, I feel like people are gonna quote the wrong parts here. Like, the part you don't cheer about is I'm gonna cut your cocks off. The part you cheer about is, like, just him shutting them down. So, but I mean, I love this scene for its I love this scene for its protective dad qualities, not its Scottish dad rage vulgarity stuff. And like that, Daisy is staying. After that rampage, Alec follows Ellie's advice and rips up her train ticket, which is real nice. And then I think this happens right there in the car. Ellie calls Alec, and this is a weird thing to leave off screen, but an off-screen cop talked to Laura Benson and confirmed that she used Atwood breakdown services before the attack.
Yeah, that was kind of like oh, okay. Like, I guess we're going this way now.
Yeah, and so Alec and Ellie arrest Jim. I do have some thoughts here about how Jim fits in, right? Because Laura, we get a confirmation from Jim later. Laura got the ride from the breakdown.
Right.
I think we have every reason to assume that Nira called for it, but she specifically says that she didn't get the ride.
Right. She tells us that it never showed up.
So, and of course Trish didn't. Trish was just at Jim's party. So Jim is connected to all of it, but you can't say the same thing happened to each woman.
No.
Jim is just a through line here, which hopefully that pans out. Anyways, yes. So we arrest Jim. Next scene, we're at the hospital, and Chloe's asking her mom, like, why aren't we enough? And it's like, Chloe, you're enough for us.
Yeah, Chloe, you are awesome, and yeah, you really don't need Mark.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
If Broadchurch had a mayor or whatever they have in England, I would elect you it.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the Queen of Broadchurch. Or Duchess. That's a thing. New royal family, the Chloe Latimers. But so Beth is trying to talk Mark back into some sense of reality, and he's talking about how he part of the reason he tried to kill himself was he's tired and can't see a road forward. And I did like this advice, which is it's different now. You've never been in this place before. I think metaphorically this place, like put things to rest and live in the present. Like he's never been in a state of mind where, he so quickly after getting some closure from Joe, he tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
So maybe if he just tries to live now, having gotten that closure, things will be different. But I know I was about to say we'll see, but we'll see a part of it.
Right.
Next week is the last episode, and I sure as hell don't want it to be the Mark Latimer episode. So
no.
Hopefully we get a taste of what life is like going forward.
Yeah, well, someone said that on the Broadchurch subreddit, and I thought that was really funny. Was don't worry, because a half hour of next week's episode will be dedicated to the community getting together and whatever. But we had that this episode, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need to get a we need to get a wrap up of what happened to all the other townies. Where did Becca go? Did she is she out of business?
Oh, Becca.
So Leah tries to talk her mom to go outside for a walk, but she's clearly too afraid, and she tells us kind of exposition-y that every woman in the town is gripped by fear, and it's going around on social media hey, don't go out at night. And to me, this did highlight that we really haven't seen Trish leave her house in a while.
Yeah, well, I guess we saw her. Well, she went to the town football game.
Yes, but both times she went places, she went to places where Beth was.
True,
it was basically
and Leah.
The cop station. She took Leah to go meet Jim, but you can count on one hand the number of times we've seen Trish in locations that were in her house. So
right,
and this makes sense for her character and where she is in recovery right now. So
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So we have Ed back in the interview station, and I wanted to ask you about this because I was starting to get thrown off here.
Mm-hmm.
When were the 3 rapes? Because my understanding was Laura happened 2 years before Trish, and that the other woman was a month or so.
No, I thought it was 11 months or something.
11 months.
I think it's I think there's a year between each of them.
Okay.
I think,
right.
But I can't be positive now. I don't know.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so I was wondering why they were asking about May 28th, 2015, which was a year exactly from Trish's party. Or Kath's party.
No, I think that was Kath's party. We're in 2015, aren't we?
Well, when they ask Ed, where were you May 28th, 2015, he says, oh, that was a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yes, maybe...
I'm confused, too.
Maybe Jalola, help us out here.
Yeah, for real. Jalola should be the mayor of Broadchurch.
Because if the attack happened... If New York's attack happened literally, a year after, that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Or, But... a part of me wrote that off as maybe that was just a false question to ease Jim into a sense of, hey, don't worry, we're not asking for any reason, we're just going back in time for no reason. Because Kath's party was definitely May 28th, 2016, and then
right,
and then so on. Laura's was in June 2014, and I thought,
okay,
yeah, I guess Near is the one in question, but those are the dates they're asking about.
Yeah, I would say that's Mira, yeah. Or Nira, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And so Jim can't remember. They ask about Laura Benson, and Jim can't remember Laura's name, but he can remember cars. He's got a picture-perfect memory for cars.
Yeah, which is also like kind of strange, but you know.
I kind of like that character. Like if Jim's good at anything, it's
True.
his job, maybe.
If he has one redeeming quality.
Yeah. So he remembers the car, remembers it belonged to a pretty girl, and confirms that he took her. He picked her up, took her back to the garage, and drove her home. He also confirms that he's maybe had a few drinks at the Rising Sun before, which is the bar Laura was at, and he becomes really flustered when he starts connecting the dots.
Yep.
He's
like, what? Wow. Yeah, I'm in some deep shit here.
Yeah, he's like, why are we talking about this? I thought this was about Trish. Oh, wait.
Oh, but it is.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, he starts to put together. And they had announced that there were 3 rapes. So, yeah. So Alec is happy. Ellie notes that Jim was flustered. And, you know, Ellie's like, why are you so happy? He's like, well, I tore up the ticket. He's like, you took my advice. He's like, yeah, I did. And you know what, Miller? I realize I'm being too nice.
I loved that. She's like, oh, no, wait.
Yeah. Her face is like, like,
wait, no, you did not take my advice at all.
Yeah. That's going down in the top 10 moments between these two.
It is really, really great. Mm-hmm. I loved it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bob shows up, and he's like, you got him queuing up today. You have another one in interview room, too. So Ian turned himself in to confess about the spyware.
Human Magikarp.
Yeah. So, like, he comes in, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry, but there's spyware on my wife's laptop. He's like, I Googled how to do it, and I did it all myself.
And they're just like, yeah, you know what? We already know that's a lie, but thanks for playing.
Yeah, you get nothing, Ian.
You lose. Good day, sir.
It's perfect, because, they already have the forensics that say otherwise. And Alec is already practicing his done being nice. Because he's like, do you have no shame? Your wife's been raped. You have to the end of the day to tell us who really installed the spyware, or we're coming for you and arresting you. And Ian's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, let me think about this.
Yes, let me consider my options here.
Mm-hmm.
Ian.
Yeah. Well, from bad to worse, Maggie meets Beth.
Yep, she does.
To ask about Mark. Beth asks to keep it out of the paper, and then Maggie, with her platitudes, what you don't print is as important as what you do.
And we're just so over Maggie.
We're just so over Maggie.
We're just so over it. We're so over, like, the righteous journalist, and we're just not having it.
Yeah, I texted you as soon as this thing happened.
Yep.
I said, this scene would have been better with Mark. And sure enough, we get that scene anyways.
We do. That's why I didn't want to say anything too much, because I'm like, oh, it's coming.
We get both. We get 2 townies consoling Beth, and we only need one. And need is a strong word, but I think you need Beth to talk to someone about it, and I'd rather just have the Paul scenes than the Maggie scenes, but...
Yeah, Maggie... Because, like, when was Maggie ever close with Beth? Never.
Yeah.
It's all just a little bit silly, and, like, for some reason, we just, like, need to have Maggie in our plot this season, you know?
Yeah. Well, if anything, I would think there's maybe some bad blood, because, I mean, the whole season, Beth has never uttered one word about the book, which kind of made me think she wasn't on board with doing it.
Well, it also just makes the whole book thing super weird, because it really has not come up outside of its thing in the premiere. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a thing.
Well, it's a fucking, like, thick made for airports sized book about, like that. Well, that's supposed that I got the idea. That's what that is. It's like a true crime. Like put that book in airport, bookstores, your Hudson Newses or whatever, right next to Dan Patterson novels and like whatever memoir came out.
I think it's James Patterson.
James Patterson.
Dan Patterson.
And then that goes next to Amy Schumer's new fucking memoir and some other comedians and actors. Like I didn't get the idea it was supposed to be a good book.
Oh no, but it's still like I don't know. I would have thought it would have come up at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
Anyway.
scene happened. Then we have another good scene. Every Maggie scene is followed by a good scene.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So Alec is in the office and he's like, my old boss used to say an investigation is like a vice. Apply enough pressure and sooner or later they all crack. And Ellie's just like, thanks for that, Confucius.
Yes. That made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. And she's like, if you're so calm about it, why are you freaking out right now? And he's like, because you never know when it's going to happen. And that's what drives you crazy.
And I kind of love unhinged Alec. He kind of, as long as he's not making poor choices that it's going to lead to like another Sandbrook type incident. Mm-hmm. I really really like when he gets this kind of like crazed look in his eye.
Well, because crazed Alec Hardy is like an energetic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But like on the opposite spectrum.
Yeah.
When David Tennant gets that look in his eyes and he's the Doctor, you're like, oh boy, adventures. He's gonna save the day. When Alec Hardy gets that look, you're like, oh god, he's gonna threaten my family.
Some shit's gonna happen, and I don't know what, but I'm scared.
Yeah. I you know what? I'm excited to see what David Tennant does after this. And Olivia Colman. We might have to chase whatever shows they do next.
Yeah.
God willing, they get more like dramas. So
yeah.
Here we go.
Cool.
So, So Alec and Ellie decide to focus on Jim, despite the fact that they just heard they caught Ian in a lie. They didn't find anything on Trish's computer besides the spyware. So, I guess their idea is if we have to, we'll arrest Ed, or we'll arrest Ian if we have to, and then just go through his phone and hopefully find evidence that is worth holding him. But then Ellie comes up with the idea of the week, maybe, which is I keep thinking about his wife's face. It's like she wasn't surprised, when they went to go arrest Jim,
right?
And that's when I was like, oh god, are we going to return to the Cath theories? And I'm not ready to put the Cath theories to bed, but what happens next makes me think that the Cath theory might be dead.
Yeah.
She finds porn mags in her home. And then goes through she goes through Jim's car and finds condoms, calling Trish to confirm that condoms were used on her before bringing them to the police, with a receipt that proves that they were bought the day of her birthday.
I was honestly a little suspicious of all of this just because it's almost like too neat. Mm-hmm. Like, especially with the calendars, too. It's like, oh, I just happened to find Ed's, or what's his name? Jim's calendars. And, I was out of town these weekends at the spa.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just like, I don't know that I believe you.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
So all these things together, right? The one thing that I can't put together is why she would confirm with Trish.
Right.
That condoms were used on her before bringing them to the police. Because if she was really just fixed on fucking over Jim, then I might just turn those in immediately anyways.
Yeah.
Or if I planted that evidence, or I might wonder, like, who keeps a calendar from 2014 around in 2016? Unless it's a really beautiful, like, collectible calendar. which, okay, that might happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You might get your firefighters calendar.
Firefighters of Broadchurch calendar.
Vicars of Broadchurch. It's just Paul. Yeah, so... Oh, you know what? Speaking of Paul, it's Paul's turn to listen to Beth. So Beth is venting her anger about Mark, and Paul tries to remind her that she was right to be gentle, but she continues to vent, and I think it's really good.
Yeah,
especially when
it is good because a
she
lot of it's kind of the stuff that we've said about Mark is that he's just so lame and he's just not growing at all.
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. It almost sounded like not something you would say specifically, but something that like the community would say. Look at me,
Right,
I'm Mark Latimer, and I am so much sadder than you.
right, and it's
That
like,
it's like
no.
I'm so glad Beth is feeling those things, and finally just like venting them out, like
Yeah,
and not that she hasn't let out little bits of that, but this is where she, in a sense, she vents this out. So I think her coming back and deciding to help or deciding to help, or maybe she doesn't have a choice, but she does come around to like, all right, we need to do this for Mark.
right.
Um, and I feel like this scene is a breakthrough for Beth because she gets to vent, and it's also a bit of a breakthrough for Paul. I think on some level sadly, I think realizing how little effect he has on things. Because at some point Beth is like, isn't this where you're supposed to tell me to see things from Mark's point of view? And he's like, well, that hasn't helped.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Paul sees that too because it's like, you know what, Paul, you keep trying to help these people and it's not helping you.
Mm-hmm. And he says, I've been praying for you every day for 3 years that you would stay together and find strength in one another, but maybe that's too simplistic. And then he says, I understand what Mark's going through, and I'm like, Paul, don't. You better
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
But I mean, if anything, I don't know what Paul's arc is, because if his arc is simply realizing that he's useless, that's kind of a bummer.
yeah.
um, but I mean, I've enjoyed Paul's company more than Maggie,
Right.
and we still have one more Maggie scene, so I'm not even done dunking on her for the episode. Oh my god, because that's the next scene.
Ugh.
It's been so great how many times this episode of the Sea Brigade I have been like thinking about. Well, I'll save that thought for when that scene comes up. I took a look down at my notes. I'm like, oh, that scene's up.
That is quite serendipitous.
Yeah, way to go. This is why you take notes.
It is funny though too. I think how like we both definitely like this episode, but we're doing a lot of complaining this episode.
You know what?
But I think it's like
Because
you have to complain about things that you love.
you have to complain a little bit when your penultimate episode is bogged down by some of the shit.
Right. And we still really don't have a set idea of who this criminal is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
Which I'm trying to remember at the season 1, episode 7, did we know that it was Joe?
I'm trying to think. By
I think
Joe,
I think that we definitely knew that Hardy knew who it was. I don't know that we knew who it was.
mm-hmm. Well, I'm trying to think when the whole Joe turns himself in moment was. Like, was it the end of episode 7 when
I don't
Alec
know.
went to the garage and then
I don't know.
I'm tired of running.
Right? I don't know. Actually, I mean, I could look that up quick. It's easy enough
Yeah.
to do. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll kill time when you look that up.
Okay.
Describing this scene where Caroline confronts Maggie at I like this at Jocelyn's house. At least Jocelyn is here in spirit, because at least implies
Oh, that
Maggie
was
and
Jocelyn's house?
Well, they're up on the hill.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Caroline demands that Maggie report on Mark's suicide attempt. And, Maggie quits, threatens to slash Caroline's tires if the story is published. I guess that's the best she can do. And, the less said about the scene, the better. Even, like, I'll dunk just once more. Even her, like, screw off pedal, as the Americans say.
Yeah, which I was like, we don't say that.
Like, wait.
Yeah.
Now I
Who
feel
is pedal?
I feel like I might understand how British people feel when people start off their invitations with like top of the morning, governor. Like, as the Americans say, screw off. What?
Like, yeah, huh? Yeah, it was all just kind of like,
A little suspect. Did you get any information on Joe Miller?
Yeah, it looks like it was not
Episode
it was
7?
it was not episode 7.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking like a better penultimate episode comparison might be to Game of Thrones, and I'm afraid if we're gonna lose Game of Thrones or non-Game of Thrones watchers, but like the penultimate episode of every Game of Thrones season is almost always its best episode.
Although this season it was not.
Yeah. I mean, but it's almost always where shit goes down.
Of course.
The twists happen, and then episode 10 is kind of the recovery. Not that Broadchurch or any show has to follow that, but in this case particularly, where this is the second to last episode ever, you don't want it to be marred by scenes like this that kind of feel like you're spinning wheels and not going anywhere. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, not to detract. Like there's only so long you can go on about the amazing Alec moments. You mentioned they happen and you enjoy them, and then you move on. It's like, yeah, Ellie stole the toast. Alec threatened some boys, and then they had some pretty good one-liners. But it's not all masterstroke stuff. Though, I will say there is a very nice moment coming up, because at first what turns out to be like it feels like a nothing scene. Like we go back to Trisha's home, and Leah's there, and she reassures her mom that everything will be all right while quote unquote doing homework.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's like preparing
Never mind.
like
just organizing the whole town to come together.
Yeah, what I really like and also believe Leah is capable of it. And both of those things matter. But, of course, I immediately jumped to bad conclusions where I'm like, we can't show a teenager using a laptop. That's porn. like, immediately I'm like, teenagers using laptops. That's not homework. I was right, but I wasn't right for the right reasons. So, back at the Latimer house, Chloe is grabbing stuff from Mark's flat as he moves back home for now. He moves back home for now. He's taking... not by choice. I think he was prepared to take the couch, but he's taking Chloe's room. Chloe's going to take the couch, and I feel worse for Beth than the person who almost committed suicide. And you know what? I feel like Beth divorcing Mark might and maybe should still happen the next episode. And and maybe that's our closure on the Latimer family, is that Beth is still going to do what's right for her while accepting like Mark is family, and I'm going to try to take care of him, but I'm not going to stay stapled to him through marriage. Yeah,
and I think that's definitely fair, and what I hope it's fair and generous, and what I hope that she does, rather than try to reconcile.
Yeah, I will be so sad if this whole season where Beth has felt stronger and independent, and it ends with I have to take care of this fucking man baby.
Yeah, it's because you know what, you don't, Beth. You really don't.
Yeah. So Alec and Ellie catch wind of Leah's special project while searching the Atwood house. As we mentioned, maybe suspiciously, Kath finds 2 calendars matching the dates and she finds the dates of the attacks, and conveniently she was away each time, leaving Jim all alone. But I feel like that increases the likelihood that Jim was cheating on her.
Yeah.
Which, that doesn't mean Jim was out raping people during those weekends. But,
right.
At least,
that's way too neat and tidy. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I feel like it leaves the possibility open for Jim to go out and goof off and then put himself in a position where he can be the through line, if not the guilty party, but he's definitely the through line here. someone is intercepting. I think someone is intercepting these calls or records, or taking note of who doesn't have a way to get home. Because Laura, we don't have a confirmation that Laura was raped the day he picked her up. Just maybe in the vicinity.
Right.
So like it could be the case that Jim or someone who had Jim's records knew that like so and so didn't have a car, so she's going to walk through the field after drinking at this bar.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely possible.
Or someone intercepts Nira's phone call and she's like, her car's broken down. If I don't tell Jim, she's just going to walk home and then ... So I don't know. I'm gonna buy myself a drink if I just put things together. Yeah. So they question Jim about the condoms, and they're lighting that fire under him. They're starting to say like, "Hey, bad news, Jim. These condoms are the same ones used by Trish's rapist, and there are multiple missing from the packet." Which we're assuming you didn't use on Kath. So this is starting to look very bad for you. Better tell us who you slept with that day.
And they also know because of the receipt that he bought them that day.
On the way on the way to the party, whatever.
Yeah.
So he says he went to the house. At Exhampton, he saw an attractive waitress, and the way he words it is that he did have sex with her in the woods up against a tree.
Typical gloating man.
Yeah. He also asked Trish if she wanted to have sex again, though this time she said no. And he answers it in like the just most disgusting way possible, which isn't good for him. He should have thought better of it. Because they're like, how did that make you feel when she rejected you? And he's like I had a better option. I'm like, no, dude. She's like under investing. You know what this case is, Jim.
Yeah, you're not helping yourself here, Jim, at all. And like, we don't really want to help you, but you can't even. You're not even helping yourself if you tried.
So I thought this was the case, but I guess it wasn't. But I initially thought that the place that he and the waitress tried to have sex was the exact same spot Trish was raped.
It sounds like it wasn't.
Right. It sounds like the woods is different than by the river.
Yeah, there are different denominations of wooded area.
Yeah. I would have thought that would have been a really tricky like twist if like the condom at Trish's scene was like from a consensual encounter, but
right.
I'm glad it's not. I'm glad they're different things.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought too, actually, what they were going to go for was that it was different places, but like at the same time. So it would have been like an unintentional alibi, but it looked like it totally was not.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm glad Jim tried to sleep with this waitress, though, because it turns into an amazing line of dialogue in just a few moments. But first, we get Katie visiting her father, and I think it's very noticeable that Ed is now drinking.
Yeah.
After saying that he doesn't.
Yeah, and now it's like, well, surprise!
Guess it should have been Ed quit drinking, and then all this being locked up for 48 hours, and having
changes the man.
Yeah, well, having your stalker tendencies exposed.
Yeah, he's going through some shit. Although, so is Trish. So, not really feeling so bad.
Yeah, I'd say the extent of this scene is that Katie convinces him to this time be real with her, and the next time that he finds something or thinks of something worth reporting to police, call me and tell me. And she kind of guilts him into saying you've cost me my job, and I was like, no, you cost yourself that job, but sorry, Katie.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is righting a wrong, though. Some small part of me is still in the Katie, Detective Katie fan club.
I would like to think that there's a bit of a happy ending for Katie, like some sort of redemption. I would like that, I think. Because we've always been pretty pro-Katie. So,
Yeah.
I think that some fans had more of a complicated relationship with her, but we've always been pretty supportive of Katie.
Yeah, well, okay. If the optimist theory that Ellie gets a promotion, maybe at Hardy's expense, because Hardy did threaten a bunch of boys. Maybe Katie gets a promotion, though. It's hard to see that being realistic, given that the Chief Super knows all the ways that she just violated like ethics laws and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
I don't know. Broadchurch does seem like a pretty forgiving community, though. Like, if you're, willing to kind of...
Yeah, well, there's not that many people to promote. I mean, you're not going to promote Bob.
There's a limited resource pool.
Yeah. So Lindsay finds the most safe for work porn imaginable. And Clive comes home, and she's like, I was trying to find out where Michael got the porn. He got it from you! And I was just like, oh my god, no, he could have gotten it from the internet. Why does it have to be this weird, like, file sharing thing?
Yeah, but it just seems like the show is determined to make it this way, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah, you know what? And maybe for plot purposes, the show is in episode 8 going to demand that there are downloaded files being shared around. Maybe that's going to happen. But for now, this still comes off as like a total misunderstanding of how things work. But I mean, given Lindsay's position as like the like religious mom who is with an adulterous husband, you can see how this pushes her over their edge, and most importantly, causes her to decide to start investigating her husband, which turns out by the end of the episode. Ian decides to show up at Trish's house, and he does the most decent thing he's done all season, and confesses to Trish that he was spying on her because of how much he missed her.
Yeah, and that's just like, ugh. Ick.
Yeah. There's an ickiness to it, but Trish's reaction seems half sympathetic. Like, she's sitting there quietly. She's sitting there being like, "Why would you do that?" But not like, "Get out of my house." And they've only been separated like 6 months, right? I don't know. Like, this felt like the moment our little magic heart maybe became like a Goldine or something. Like, or like, it's not like Ian has flowered a little bit this episode. I'd say
I don't know, you think?
I'd say he he lied, but like the spying wasn't like it's immoral but not overly. It's not malicious. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I would say that his redemption in this episode, if he has one, is if Leo is telling the truth, that he was, there for Leo when he was going through a hard time with his family and that kind of thing, and like as a teacher. But I don't know. I still think that he's kind of icky and gross.
Icky and gross, but not like in my head. The worst case scenario for spying on her was like,
right, like revenge porn or something like that. Yeah,
revenge porn. Try to find something out about Trish so that I can get custody of my kid. And like of all the scenarios, this is the like best case scenario for why you're spying on your wife is for some sappy shit. It's a weird flowering, I would say. Like, you went from like hot shit to like, okay, this is still foul, but I feel better about this.
You're not worst person of the week, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, that damn it. We should have been doing that all fucking season.
Oh man.
Okay. See Brigade, Fargo season 3, worst person of the week. Write it down. It's a feature from now on. Good job, Emily.
Wow. Unintentional moment of genius. So I guess the worst person of the week would have to be Jim, right?
Yeah. Jim's getting worst person of the week. So, Leah interrupts this moment between Ian and Trish and decides and forces Trish to go on this walk, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be like this thing organized by Leah. It's a big like women empowerment show.
Yeah.
They all kind of gather at the police station. Alec and Ellie and Laura are there, as are some various other townies, and they do this really nice like gesture where they all turn on their phones and it lights up, and it's very reminiscent of the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And maybe the thing that I think diffuses the Kath theories the most is the moment they decide to forgive each other, and Kath is the first one to do that. Kath asks Trish to forgive her, and Trish is like, only if you forgive me or whatever. And it's like, for me, I'm like, oh, that's really sweet. And for me, that's like the same moment that I'm like, you know what? Maybe all the Kath theories are dead. For me, at least. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Like,
that also kind of made me feel less weird about the calendar stuff.
Yeah. Like, you can't orchestrate Trish's rape and then have that same reaction right there. Right?
Yeah.
Probably can't.
I would say, unless Kath is like really like,
psychotic.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, here we go. You know what? That scene with all the women standing up for the survivors of the rape and standing up and saying we're not going to let the rapist control our lives. That was really beautiful. But so is this scene where Alec and Ellie interview the waitress, and she's like, not gonna lie, I like myself a DILF.
And then Alec learns what a DILF is. We're learning so much this week.
Oh, it's such a great scene. And she reveals like, I did let Jim lead me into the woods, but he didn't get any because he was being a little rough and I wasn't into it. And they're like, oh, so he was sexually frustrated. That's even more evidence or even more rationale that we can blame, we can put on Jim. And Alec's like, oh, the vice is tightening, Miller. Then Ian calls to basically say, hey, guess what? Leo was the one who installed the spyware. They go arrest Leo, put him in the interrogation room. And then this I was not expecting. But Leo just kind of has, out of nowhere, this sob story about how great Ian was, like, when his family was going through a divorce and he was thinking about killing himself. Like, oh, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have made it through if it wasn't for Ian. So I owed him one. I didn't want to throw him in the shit. I installed the spyware and I didn't tell the police. And it's like, oh, and by the way, another thing I didn't tell you about, my girlfriend Danielle also used to work at the farm shop. So she was invited to Kath's party. So I was at the Axhampton Manor for a little bit that night. I didn't want to say anything because my dad would fire me if I was in any way involved with this investigation. ... I don't know if I buy this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, this is very well acted by Leo, but I still think the fact that he was going drinking at the same bars as Jim and has Jim's garage as a football sponsor, I still feel like these pieces need to come together, and I don't know that I'm letting Leo off the hook yet.
Yeah, me either.
But I believe maybe what he's saying about Ian. Like, there are partial truths here, but I don't think his involvement in this stuff stops here, but we'll see. Again, one episode left, so you know what? That is more appropriate than ever because we kind of end here on 3 cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Part 1. Ellie is like, oh my god, there's a DNA match on the sock. It was used to gag Trish. Her DNA is on there. And one of our men's DNA is on the sock. But we don't see who. Instead, we kind of get this nice little montage of like all the men and what they're doing right then.
Yeah.
Now, it could be anybody's, but we saw that Leo plays football in those socks, right? So, couldn't it have been Leo's DNA, but still not implicate him as the rapist?
I guess.
Like it could be Leo's DNA, but
it could be Leo's masturbation sock, and then somehow it's been stolen for this.
I was thinking his foot.
Oh.
Because he plays football in those.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know why I went first to masturbation.
It's all the soft porn. It's getting to your head.
Yeah, I'm being corrupted. No.
Oh my god. You just blew Ellie's mind that she has to pay attention to that shit with Tom.
Oh no.
Yeah, Tom Miller. So, the other twists, if you can call them that, Ed calls Katie to show her that he's found a bag of twine at the kind of like left behind some crates at the farm shop. He's never seen it before. Katie investigates, and there's blood on the twine. I think that's going to be more important than what's on the sock. 1. 2. No, I'll include this too. If Katie's the one that gets like the breaking evidence, that is perfect redemption for her.
True. Yeah.
Makes up for her fuck up. And then twist number 3. Lindsay's going through the garage, opens this cabinet, and finds Clive's key collection as Clive shows up, and he gives her like this really nasty look. But I don't know if it means any more than that, though. Depending on who, like, if the other rape victims are on those key collections, that's going to be really hard to explain.
Right.
As of right now, like, you might be able to write off, like, oh, I have her keys because I thought she was hot and I was trying to hit on her or something, right? But it's a weird key to have.
It's weird
because it's Trish and Leah.
Yeah, it's very weird. And plus, we also, when the keys were first introduced, they were still a possibility. Like, oh, maybe it was a swinger party, and like, they just took keys, but it wasn't. So we don't know why he has the keys.
Yeah. So this is a really good episode 9 in this way, in that it's like, oh god, there's still so many possibilities, and we're still left with a lot of really interesting paths to follow. I just hope we have enough time to, when we find out who the rapist or rapists are, I want to have the time to, like, suck on that and digest it and enjoy it and, like, enjoy the arrest and the justice.
Yeah, I think that they make a good call in keeping it until the final episode, because that way, then, we're still wondering, we're still gripped. We'd be hooked anyway, but now it's like, we know that there are some things that are coming, but we don't know what they are, and so we're very excited, and and that way it's all self-contained.
Yeah, and closure on, like, the Broadchurch townies is not what I'm looking for in episode 8.
Yeah, I want a little closure on, like, Alec and Ellie, but otherwise, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, Alec, Ellie, Beth, Trish, full stop. Those are the people I really need some closure on.
Right.
And, them and their families. And that should go without saying, hopefully. But, like, if Maggie has a line of dialogue, I swear, shakes fist.
Maggie!
It's really not what I'm looking for.
Same.
So, time-wise, I know we're a little bit tight here, but Emily, do you think we can fit in Jalola's last email to end the episode?
Of course.
Okay, so Jalola writes, "Hi Emily and Ken, that was a stunning episode. I could tell it was going to answer a lot of questions from the previously on recap. They pulled all the key moments from episodes 1 through 6. Mm-hmm. Before the episode, I guessed that the various crimes or incidents would get traced back to separate suspects. Ian and Leo installing spyware was guessed by a lot of people, though many fans predicted it was specifically to see Trish having sex. Ian made it sound more innocent than it was. Maybe it was. And we guessed Ed did not attack Trish, but I still wonder if he'll get charged with stalking. So 3 people were eliminated for sure. Kath and Lindsay appear to be innocent. That leaves Jim and Clive with an outside chance that it's Arthur the owner of Axhampton House.
Yeah.
You also have Aaron, the rapist, the pedophile.
Oh yeah, we
guy.
haven't seen him in a while.
Kind of hope we don't.
Yeah.
Kind of hope that was just a big old red herring. They also write, I was thrown that both Ian and Kath brought themselves in. That gave each of them a few moments in the interrogation room. We all failed to guess that Mark would survive. I thought his body might be found at the end of episode 7, but then the title cards were black, and Beth got the phone call to start the episode, so it seemed he'd been found. Huge surprise to see he's been found alive. That quickly blew a lot of my theories for the end of the series. His future is still precarious. I don't think he's out of the woods. Alec was on fire as a dad and a cop. His growing domesticity with Ellie is heartwarming. What affects him affects her, she said at the start, and he followed her advice about Daisy's ticket. And the funniest moments were, 1, when they were making breakfast and she stole his toast, and 2, when he declared he was too nice to people. The great news is that Ellie finally got to eat at Hardy's expense with that stolen toast.
Yeah, I really want Alec and Ellie to, like, just become, like, platonic life partners forever and just, like, hang out in the sea house and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of have a defense of the porn stories here.
Okay.
Jalila writes, the porn is just porn. It's not Trish's rape or Daisy's sexting. Jim is sleeping around and sees nothing wrong with liking sex. Ian's monitoring Trish, but he's not using Spyro to make porn videos. So we see where Chibnall chose the theme and then set up sub-stories to highlight different aspects of sex, what's normal and what's perverse. Kind of not seeing that, but I get that angle. Like, it's not, but like it's not being made clear. Like in all cases where porn shows up, it's like to illustrate that these are bad behaviors or bad people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Jalila also writes a defense of Maggie here. I know you and a few other people have found her story pointless this series, but I saw the larger purpose to it. If I'm right, Chris Chibnall orchestrated something amazing. He got real-life British press to do exactly what Maggie was trying to prevent 7 months before the show aired. When the Broadchurch filming crew put out a statement saying they were shooting the night scene at the lake and told everyone to stay away. That scene was Mark's suicide, but of course the request was like an invitation and many photographers snuck in and took pictures. The tabloids printed the most revealing of them with headlines like Mark Latimer commits suicide in Broadchurch Series 3. Fans were horrified and started tweeting and chatting. Many of us knew that scene was coming, hoping it would be different. However, I thought it was very odd that they pre-announced this filming when they had done, like so much secrecy before. So what happened in this episode? The brash editor, Carolyn, finds out about Mark's suicide attempt and wants to publish it. Maggie quits, but the story will get published, just like in real life how the paparazzi spy photos got published. If he did this deliberately, how brilliant is that?
That's interesting.
It's an interesting idea. It could pan out, but I more or less like if there are grand things to be said here about like the press. I just didn't feel like this was the season for it. And Maggie's not the character for it either. I think in Jocelyn's absence, it's really hard to like get behind Maggie being here.
Yeah, it just feels unnecessary.
So, but yeah, I super encourage because oh my gosh, next week is the last week to get your thoughts in there. Unless we get a mountain of stuff, in which case maybe a special listener email episode might be due. But yeah, I mean, next week is your reactions and your predictions. So between now and Monday night, if you have a prediction for posterity, you could email it in. If you get it right, bing, 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 read it at the top of the episode, and we could show off how smart you were.
Yes, please.
So that email address is cbrigadepodcast@gmail.com, and that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Sea Brigade.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to you joining us for the finale. And thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, and well, we'll see you next week for the finale of Broadchurch.
All right.
Sure that's going to be emotional. So.
Yeah.